You're listening to Built to Convert, the podcast where growth-minded marketers, founders, and creators come to level up. No hype, no guesswork, just bold insights that drive results. Let's go.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Built to Convert, where we explore how great strategy, data, and design come together to drive performance. I'm your host, Tyler Lane, founder of Session Interactive, and today we'll be diving into how modern website development is evolving, especially in the no-code and Webflow era. Today's episode is brought to you by Session Interactive. We help brands grow smarter with performance-driven SEO, paid media, and analytics. If you want your marketing to actually generate leads and not just traffic, head over to sessioninteractive.com. All right, guys, we got a fun one today. Hal Zeitlin, the founder of Candid Leap, a Webflow development agency helping tech companies strategize, build, and maintain scalable Webflow sites. Hal's team specializes in empowering companies to own their websites without overly relying on complex dev teams or bloated CMS process. In addition to his agency work, Hal is also the product owner of Form Connector, a Webflow native app, helping brands map from form data directly into Webflow CMS. Hal is a dedicated Webflow global community leader and growth mentor, among other things. He's doing big things, folks. Hal, good to see you. Thanks so much for joining. I appreciate your time.
Always good, Tyler.
Yeah, man. This will be good. All right. So how we like to kick things off typically is just to establish some background. I know you and I know each other. We've chatted a number of times. Really always impressed with your work. Talk to us about what you've been up to the last few years and what ultimately spurred you starting Candid Leap.
Yeah. So many years ago, I was just a marketer guy, solving marketing problems. And maybe 6 years ago, I discovered this platform called Webflow. And I was used to building on WordPress and Squarespace and all those things. They either were just a headache to use or just they didn't look great. And as someone who likes to build, impressive things, I just was waiting for something that was going to deliver that. And when I found Webflow, I knew that was it. And so, if you're a marketer or driving growth and you're having to pick a web partner, usually you're picking someone whose background's in design, and then they get into development, or they're in development, they're bringing in design. I came in sort of through a different lens, which is as a marketer discovering this tool and then resourcing and training myself and our team on the design development part to deliver that. So really, the career has been more about moving as a marketer into just running a design and development shop and just helping to use Webflow as a marketing tool, not as like a web building platform, if that makes sense to you.
Mm-hmm. Hal, talk to us about, your kind of a core tenet is making sure clients are not overly reliant on development teams. Was that one of the core items that attracted you to Webflow? And then I'd love to hear that. And then also in the second part of that question, what does a great Webflow site actually look like in terms of if it's optimized for growth?
Awesome. So first thing, you probably have heard of Webflow. I'd be surprised if you haven't. And it's, the platform is maybe 11, 12 years old now, and it's really starting to take off. It's exciting sort of being a more earlier adopter and building expertise. And I think, why I came to Webflow was that we could build these very custom premium sites without needing to just code the whole thing. Before, that was really the only option. That was like the Webflow 1.0. Webflow 2.0, which started getting birthed maybe 2.5 years ago, is when you can have that power, but then take it and pass it on more easily to non-developers. What that looks like is building component libraries that have that custom and power. But instead of having to create a ticket or Slack the agency or Webflow developer to say, hey, build this page, marketers are now enabled to drag and drop these robust dynamic elements and build pages all themselves. And so there's some gotchas and catches, and it's you still might need a partner to support you there, but it's really that evolution of just being able to build great things first without relying on engineers and those bloated workflows to now having engineers enable marketing and growth to execute and do that. And really what a good Webflow site looks like, I think, is just consistency, organization, intentionality. We've worked with, almost every client, every project we've seen on Webflow, it's a mess. We've had multiple unicorn clients come to us and their sites are a mess. And it's not a Webflow problem, it's just a development problem. And again, the issue is you're having a lot of development shops started by people who don't have formal training in development. There were designers coming to development or they're self-taught, and they don't have the experience to prevent that. And so it's great that the Webflow industry has grown because of people, enthusiastic people wanting to creative come here. But one of the downsides is that there's a lot of great talented people, but they just lack that experience to really build you a site that's not going to have problems in the future. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah. It kind of reminds me of totally separate, but Google Tag Manager when it first came out, and Google was like, "Oh, you don't just marketer, you don't need developers." Right. But I think, and it was clearly evident you still needed developers. And I think that's a really good point that you're making, is that yes, marketers are enabled far more than they ever were, but there needs to be that backbone of some quality development and to kind of put some of the more advanced creative aspects to life within the site. Would you agree?
Absolutely. And it's really about finding a partner when building, either hiring the right people or external partners who have experience, who are honest, and and guide you in those conversations. You don't know the trade-offs and stuff that's going to happen in the future. And so if you can find someone who you can trust to be honest and guide you through those conversations, so you make the right choices at the start rather than having to course correct later on, it's going to save you a lot of time, money, stress, all of that there. And so it's just a matter of planning and knowing what you want to prioritize and what you want to let go, because if you want it all, you're just going to have to spend a lot of money, and you probably shouldn't do that.
I mean, clearly, I'm familiar with Webflow. Our agency is, of course, we need to understand the benefits. Talk to me about kind of the no code, low code components of not just Webflow, but are there areas that you're seeing where agencies and product teams can integrate better than what they're doing currently to leverage these platforms?
So I'd say first thing is, like, I never liked no code. No code means like limitation. Like, it means boxes. And Webflow in some ways very much can be classified that way. But years ago, it was more moving towards a low code solution, maybe visual development tool. And so I would say these days, try to avoid the no code tools that don't let you have that more precise control. As far as like product development teams, how they're integrating with Webflow, and there's a lot of innovations that have come out in the last 6 months. I'll get a little technical here, but for bigger companies that are doing more ambitious things, a Webflow Cloud was released maybe 3 months ago. It's built on Cloudflare. Webflow now hosts everything on Cloudflare, and it's going to let you build, apps, web apps, more things that should be fully coded, where Webflow isn't the right fit, because Webflow is not the right fit for everything and everyone. And it lets you, through Cloudflare, take your like nav bar and footer from Webflow, export that as like a React component or some sort of component, inject it onto your web app. And then, because it's all in Cloudflare, it then will unite your sitemap and everything there. So before, you'd have to do reverse proxy, and there still might be room for reverse proxies, but what it's letting you do is letting Webflow specialize in what it does best, which is these marketing design systems and things that can be maintained by non-developers. And then for certain programmatic plays, perhaps that really ought to be just coded with your backend, you can still do that, but have it all integrated without having to every time go in and like update the nav bar on both and have them be in sync. So, this is like one innovation, and more is to come. And so I would just say, there's a lot of pressure in this space for everyone that was in the low code, no code space, to move more towards the development side. And you see everyone in the more development side kind of moving towards more the user-friendly usability side. And so at one point, everything will merge, and, Webflow is a really strong position right now. And so, but things change every few years. And so I'm excited to watch how the field evolves.
What would you say, Hal? Because obviously there's a litany of CMSs and backend frameworks. Individuals that are perhaps on like a legacy instance of WordPress or a .NET solution like Sitecore or Drupal, for example. You mentioned a good statement there. Just the Webflow isn't for everyone, and I think that's an important component or important concept to know. It's not. So, what would you say why those individuals perhaps should consider Webflow as their CMS, or perhaps they should maybe steer clear of it?
Totally. So one reason why people sometimes hire us is just because I'm very direct and upfront about this. And I really try to disqualify people from Webflow, because no matter what, I don't know if you remember Active Campaign. I used to listen to their podcast like 7 years ago when I was like a young marketer. And the podcast host was like, look, guys, no matter what tool you're going to pick, it's going to have things that you don't like about it. So let's not come here trying to sell you that it's the best and this and that and this and that. Like, let's be thoughtful. So I'll just start with like reasons not to pick Webflow. if you need like take like Wise, we use Wise to do a lot of international payments. Like their marketing site is like deeply integrated with their calculators and their live feeds for showing pricing. Their product and marketing site are very deeply integrated. Where in that case, like it makes sense just to like have everything in a closer one repo and monitoring it that way. It's going to give you that flexibility that the engineering team wants. Now, as a lot of sites don't need and want that, and their marketing team wants to own the marketing site. They don't want to be dependent on engineers and have the longer times and everything there. That's when Webflow really comes in. And so I think that's the first place to start, which is like, is our product and our web app, like, are they very intimately related? And we've had companies where like it's an education company and we've used the Webflow CMS API to take all their products from their database and feed it into Webflow and build pages on their marketing site where they can still use Webflow. That could have been a use case not to use Webflow, but all in all, them moving off Contentful onto Webflow and then having their app separate was a winning solution. So I would say that's the number one reason to stick away from Webflow. And beyond that, you kind of just have to get into culture. I think in so many cases you can move from WordPress to Webflow. Not every case, but it's a very, very strong use case. But if your CTO and engineering team is just like, we love WordPress and it's this and this, then I'm not going to push them. Like, why would I try to fight that battle if their head technical leader is like gung ho about it? I'll have conversations, but like that's not my place. So that's another time when you kind of have to let go. If you have a leader who has a really strong opinion and we don't have the resources and way to kind of show them other perspectives. Have you seen that before ever, Tyler?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Some individuals stuck in their ways, not necessarily maybe a CMS or another, but it's worked well for them in the past, right? And they're just used to it, right? And so, hey, people are going to be a victim to their own experiences to a certain extent, right?
And if what you have is working, then like a lot of people are like, oh, and like I think also HubSpot CMS is not so great of a business solution, but like there's companies that have HubSpot CMS and it is working for them and they are succeeding. That business case to migrate everything to Webflow or Webflow Enterprise like is not as strong. And I think it's a lot of people will just say Webflow is better in all these cases. And that might be true in a lot of cases, but I think usually what's happening is someone has a solution that's not working and they need a better solution. And in that case, it's going to be picking on rebuilding on the same solution or going to Webflow. Webflow is going to win in a lot of those cases. But I think it starts off with where there is this problem and headache that needs to be solved and that we need to start there.
Yeah, and it's come leaps and bounds. It's definitely, on the SEO side of things, there was some limitations in the past and, still working with some items, but overall it's in a really good place. You mentioned the cloud component as an innovation that Webflow is excited about and you're excited about. That came out a number of months ago. What other items in terms of innovation, we're going to transition into that AI related conversation, but talked about AI, maybe automation components, as well as some personalization that you're seeing. That's already
very good.
Perhaps
the first thing is I personally advise the Webflow product team. I'm in a small group where we just work with other product managers and give feedback and beta tests and all that. So there's a lot that I know is coming that I can't say and hint at here, but it's a very exciting time. I'd say on the AI space, there was a lot of success around their MCP product and adoption there. And so people are still like kind of figuring out the workflows to use with that. We are still figuring out. We haven't solved it for sure, but that was definitely a win. On the AI side, the Webflow has this optimized tool. So there was a company called Intellimise. Have you heard of it before, Tyler?
The bell, perhaps, yeah.
So they had it's like a A/B testing, but really AI driven solution. So instead of running like very black and white A/B tests with like control and this and that, you're setting different variables. It's looking at device. It's looking at who referred the traffic. On their enterprise optimized product, it's looking at HubSpot data or 6sense data, and it's running like different tests and optimizing in real time for each visitor. So like if you go to the Webflow site today and you go tomorrow, you might see like a white hero section and tomorrow a black hero section. I've never seen a site. But like that's not a bug. That's a feature of Webflow's AI optimized product, where instead of waiting for a test to, pick a winner of two options, it's doing something way more sophisticated, way more powerful, and ultimately trying to get you way more return on your dollar spent on marketing. I would say like we're seeing a lot of companies who are buying Webflow Enterprise, also adding that on as a separate product. It was a really smart movement by Webflow to acquire that solution. And they're building more to come there. So I'd say on the AI space, the MCP server and Webflow's AI optimized features are probably the top two that come to mind.
Yeah, MCPs are making such a big push right now with just so many of these AI related tools and automation tools. That's great to know. Are you finding that that's, people are clearly excited about that? I mean, I remember for years, personalization here and there or other added components, and a lot of these CMSs that were offering that, it really wasn't great. Are you finding now that it's still intimidating for people? They're excited about it, but they need a partner to help execute on it rather than
So
play.
Webflow, I'm at all their conferences, all their summits and everything, and they're like, Hal, you're going to be able to open your own personalization and optimization practice. And I'm like, Tyler, your group, you have spent time building teammates and capacity and resources to deliver in those areas. For me, we could do that, but that's not ideally a core competency I want to build in my business right now. And so I think that a lot of companies do need and want a partner. And I think the two approaches that they need to, and again, it's about being honest and transparent. You either have, you work with me, I'm the owner of the agency, I will train and show your team how to use it, and your team can drive it. We had a sales conversation where literally the guy was like, How, you guys are like the optimization experts and you're going to help us do this. And I'm like, no, let me correct you here. I do not want to drive and own your program. I want to be there with your team, training them, supporting them, doing the work in Webflow to make you successful there. But if you want someone actually owning that, you need to have, a dedicated partner who wants to do that. And so I would say, if you are buying these tools and using them, you have to decide if you're going with a more consultative approach where you're kind of owning it, or if you're going more with an outsourced approach, which can be very powerful. It just requires more onboarding, more context sharing. And it may or may not be on the cost more or less expensive of having an internal teammate. Having internal full-time employees can be relatively expensive, and they have different priorities. And you need to decide if you want them to be spending their limited time driving that, that lever, that channel, or if you want to have a partner who's going to be managed by them.
I think it's just a testament to you, Hal, in terms of how you run your business and just the transparency component. You want to stay in your lane. Obviously, your lane is evolving significantly, but you also don't want to offer services that you don't completely excel at, right?
That's it. We want to just do great work. We don't our reputation matters so much to me. You know what I mean? I can't risk that. We've worked too hard for this time, and my team also wants to be happy. And if I'm selling projects for them that, they like to be stretched and challenged, but there comes a point, and that's why just really every agency and group has their areas where they really have expertise and excel at. And then they have areas where they can do it, but it supplements what their core part is. And I think it's so fascinating that every group is different of where they really have that core competency and excellence.
Yeah, wildly different. Absolutely. Hal, talk about kind of the structure of your business and how you keep things nimble. You mentioned that you're the main point of contact still, which is a lot, right? As a business owner, that, it gets to be quite overwhelming in certain cases. Are you trying to be strategic in the sense that you're taking on core projects and responsibilities just to really focus and nail them before you take on anything else? Or are you in the place where you're taking on a lot of simultaneous projects?
So I'm not always the core contact, but when it comes to the more high level strategy, and really guiding that level, that I am that person. And that's why people are hiring us. And Sabrina, who runs the agency with me, is more and more stepping in and delivering there. And it's extremely exciting. And I'm so proud of her. And it's just oh my gosh, it's so great having someone by your side who you intimately trust and you share the same values with. But I think, we are right now definitely a quality over quantity shop, but we are working very hard and aggressively to do both of more. Our systems and processes are evolving a lot, and the work we are doing around design systems, our processes, our strategy, it is no one else is doing it at all like us. And a lot of the Webflow is seeing it and has recognized it, but there's still we're talking to someone She's like, oh yeah, everyone does this stuff here. And I'm like, all right, talk to the other agencies you're talking to, come back to me and say if it's at all remotely close to what we're doing. She's like, oh yeah, you're right. Yeah. It's not at all similar. I was even talking to like yesterday, like a salesperson at Webflow who was just saying, oh yeah, this component stuff's bread and I don't think he meant it in a wrong way. Like this component stuff's bread and butter. We're talking to you, Hal, because we know that you can do also technical stuff too. And I corrected and I'm like, look, yes, a lot of people are doing components, but as far as like how you organize them, name them, how you enrich them, how you train the client to adopt them and use them. And I think there's like a lack of education in this space. And so as far as like me being the primary person, it's just really having those conversations early on to set those expectations. And then my team can come in and execute. And on the optimization side and that strategy, it's just hard to find good, experienced B2B marketing leaders
Oh yeah.
in the agency space. And so when you find them, you hold on to them, you invest in them, you reward them. But for right now, like I'm gonna own that seat. And then maybe in the future, we'll expand more there. But it's just kind of part of our sales process to land these larger multi-month long projects for migrations.
How, what are some, I know you're working with more larger companies, so I think there's two parts to this question. What are some of the core mistakes that you see startups make when they're first building a new site? And then with some of the clients that you're seeing, with larger clients, when they're maybe relaunching or migrating a CMS, I know from the SEO side, of course, a lot of those mistakes and certain things, but I'm curious what you see and how people can potentially avoid those.
Biggest mistake is just lack of alignment within the company between different departments and stakeholders, where someone ends up being surprised. And people are always going to say something and forget they said it. And that's why having a paper trail and stuff is really important. But it's just, it's so easy to do the work, launch the project, hand off, and then someone's like, oh, I was expecting this, or, oh, like, can we, and it's fine. We can do these things. And so I think the biggest mistake is not slowing down at the start to really define not only the company goals, but like the key stakeholders, what they're expecting and want to see, and then circling back. And it seems so obvious. It's very easy to say on a podcast, like, yeah, you just set expectations and you follow back and you make sure that you checked all the boxes. And like, of course there is some simplicity there, but when you're building 100+ components, developing over 80 pages, making 30 CMSs, organizing, testing across multiple devices there, having integrations, working with multiple stakeholders, passing it off. Like there's definitely a lot, like things are not going to always go perfect. And we're working to get as perfect as we can. And I think that's really setting that early on. So when you come back at the end of the project or in the middle, you kind of have that framework to review, were we successful, were we not successful?
Yeah. It's difficult, right? You got to really kind of set those expectations because people are generally on a pretty tight timeline. They're excited, right? Yeah. They want to get things in market, but you got to come and be like, okay, there's a lot to discuss here.
And that's why reverse proxies are great. Like now, like we're talking, like, it's just like, that's Sabrina's always pushing, and like timelines and milestones are super important. Yes. But it's like, look, other mistakes companies make is they expect they can get content together on a time. Like, I don't know if I've ever seen a client deliver content on the timeline they said they would, like ever. And that's always a blocker. Yeah. And especially if we're going to involve like thinking about SEO and AEO into the content piece, like let alone having a brand or a copy person writing it. It just, so I'm like now very direct where I'm like, hey, what's happening? Like, what is the business like a cost if we don't launch by this date? What's going on? And I'm just like, usually if you're delaying things, not us, like if you're delaying things with a smile, like here's what we're going to do. Like we're going to launch, well, can we launch these pages like this? Reverse proxy, it might cost you a little bit more. It's kind of a pain in the butt, but like it's going to let you report to your stakeholders. Like the people who we work with who are selling the project to the buying committee up front, like they want to have their backs covered. And so partially it's, how enterprise sales and everything, and it should be this way. And this is how we serve people, but it's like having to balance and make sure that the people at the top who are like, this is the date, it has to be this date, there's nothing else, that like they can be satisfied, while also the people on the bottom who have to maintain the site long term, like they're not being thrown under the bus too. And so launching sites, like having a framework that's flexible and has options and the launch date, it's not like this launch date. And sometimes like that has to happen. And there's some SEO reasons that might have to happen. But like, if you delay this or this happens, can we be flexible? And Tyler, before recording, we were talking about like how with clients, I'm like, hey, are we going to enjoy working together? We care about that a lot.
Yeah.
And like, it's just like some things will happen that don't go according to plan. That's a given. Like, do we agree on that? Like, are we okay with that? And I don't think I've lost the deal because of saying that, but like seeing how they respond to that and say, here's how we're going to manage that together and we're going to help protect you. That's like, as far as mistakes, like, and that, the only way you learn that is through making mistakes and learning over time. And so it's great having a shop where we've done this for a good bit of time, where we've learned that through experience and we can better advocate for our clients.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, that's huge. A lot of good stuff and great takeaways out of that. Hal, let's put you on the spot here in terms of the future, right? We were talking about that again before we started recording. But what are you anticipating? I know you're obviously intimately involved in websites and other things.
Yeah.
Of course, it's related to search and it's related to marketing components. Where do you see yourself as an agency in the next 2 to 3 years? And then in the same vein, how do you see individuals digesting content differently, digesting websites differently, especially with generative AI becoming more ubiquitous?
So, I mean, we could talk about this for hours.
I know.
So key points is like me for like evaluating software right now when I'm advising clients or asking, like, I go to ChatGPT, I do deep research, I have it run, put together a table with some options, have a list of pros and cons, and I get estimated pricing and everything there. And I am only opening a few of those links and I'm going in with all this information. Like, how could you not say that devalues the experience of the site? And like, it's the content is on the site that's feeding it, but like the actual work of like having the site look good and work well, like the content is what's most important there. So, and I'm an early adopter of this. Not everyone's doing this, but I'm just saying, like, for the future, this is a way better workflow of evaluating options. And then I think though, like and that's the question. It's like, is your sales team and sales process, are you using your website as a sales enablement tool or not? And it's great for me to be like, you should always use your website as a sales enablement tool. And it shouldn't just be about capturing leads. But like, look, man, some companies and industries, like the website is going to have less of a strong use case to have as a sales enablement tool. And it's a great piece to push and say. And some companies do, and they rock it. And it's incredible how they're sending traffic to their site after the first sales conversation and second. And then people are going into their user journeys and they're going down the rabbit hole and they're seeing and they're interacting with the branded content. Like, that is an incredibly important play that should be invested for a lot of companies. But again, I'm not going to come here and say every company needs to be doing this. So I think for like larger ticket items, larger companies, the ability to build both the lead generation top of funnel, and then once someone's in it, how we're using the website to nurture people and use it as a way to also internally sell. So it's not just the one buyer, but the whole buying committee can review it. I see like we still have time left on websites to make an impact and value there. And until that stops happening, which I don't even know if that will ever happen, unless people just want to just look at it, for the people who are actually making the decision to stake their reputation on something, if they just want to see like a few bullet points, then I think we're protected. So it's like, how are we using AI and these tools to deploy those quicker, better, and more consistently? And that's what we're specializing in our agency, and that's where Webflow needs to evolve as a tool so that we can do that easier and better.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I mean, I think we talk short term and then long term, but it's tough to imagine a world where people. I love what you said. Like, they're conducting research, and a lot of people are doing that more and more. I think over the next year plus, people are going to be getting into more of that consideration decision phase well before they visit a website. But that experience, Hal, right? Yeah. I know you and I are both biased here, but that experience when you reach a really high quality site with logical design and usability, and great features and functionality, that's, at least where we're at now with LLMs and other things like that, you don't get that there at all.
It builds trust in a way that's intangible, and it's hard because like we have one client. I don't know if I can say their name. They're like pretty new unicorn company, like doing awesome things in the AI space. And I'm like trying to drill our champion there. Like, dude, like, what are your metrics? Like, what are you like, how are you
Yeah.
assessed? And this, and then he's like, right now, actually, like, we're kind of all a team working together to drive, pipe and this and that. And it's not so much to my channels. It's more like the website is seen as like more of a conference, which is good and healthy, but like there can and should and will be that pressure where it's just like net new web initiatives and channels driving growth, which I know a lot of the work that's what companies hire you to help unlock those and measure and show the results there. And so I think that it's it depends on the philosophy of the company of how they want to measure success and hold teammates accountable, because the way they do that will totally change what your strategy is. It will change your tactics. You know, what you measure, that's where people are going to put their eyeballs and make their decisions. So we try to get an idea of what that is, both for the company's success, but also the people we work with, that they're not going to feel like they're not hitting their goals. For your shop, Tyler, how do you like work with your stakeholders and companies to sort of balance like the soft, more brand and intangible things versus like the hardcore, like this keyword got to this landing page and we got a lead for you and here's the ROI?
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, reporting and attribution is all evolving significantly, especially as LLMs are siphoning more and more traffic away. In certain cases, people are getting the information, but not necessarily clicking through. Referral data is becoming better back to the website, but we're seeing it's just that evolution and change that you need to ensure your clients are aware of versus vanity metrics like traffic and impressions and clicks and keyword rankings. It's like, yeah, those are still applicable and still are KPIs, but at the end of the day, if revenue is increasing, conversions are up, isn't that the metric that matters the most? And I think it's tough to convince clients. Sometimes they are really fixated on the vanity metrics. They want to see the traffic. They want to see that hockey stick, and they want to get as granular attribution as possible. And in certain cases, that's available. In other cases, it's not.
It's not available, and it's becoming less available. But what did you say 5 years ago? Those vanity metrics you mentioned were not vanity metrics, and they were a lot more relevant to decision making.
Well, I think it still is too, and that's an archaic mindset of just like, okay, how are we doing with our traffic? It's like, why care about that, right? When engagement is terrible, but your traffic's super high, what's the point, right? And I think it's case by case, right? Is it a site or a brand that just wants pure awareness? Not many of them are like that. There's a reason why they're a business, because they need to make money. So there's
How often do you work with companies? Because you're talking about context. Context matters, and there's nuance. How often do you work with clients and companies where they don't have the ability and capacity to communicate to the rest of the company context, and it interferes with your ability to keep moving the needle for them? Like, you're helping them succeed, but they can't see it because they're stuck. Do you ever see that as a thing? Because it's understandable that some people just don't get it,
Well, it's yeah, and I like you switching around here, interviewing me here. But I know it at the C levels executive team typically is where it's more of that again, that archaic mindset of like, why isn't our traffic improving? Why isn't our engagement improving? Things like that, or follower counts or likes or things like that. It's like those things hit a dopamine. There's a dopamine hit. And it maybe mean nothing overall, but it's a dopamine hit that people want to see increase. It's wild. So it's up to us to strategize with those internal stakeholders as much as possible to ensure that they're aware of like, hey, these efforts are actually indirectly and directly attributing revenue. And if that's a partnership that doesn't make sense for them because they want to see those vanity metrics increase, it's not a partnership that makes sense for us long term.
I think that's going back to what I was saying before around transparency, strategic alignment up front.
True.
Like that's the mature way to handle things. And then that's why we have to focus on our core competencies so that we can go to the table and really be direct and confident. If you're trying to do everything and anything, you know what I mean? Then you just are going to lack the experience and context to drop that knowledge when it needs to be told. Because I'm sure there's a lot of people still talking about traffic and click. And again, they are still important there, but like, a lot of people are still selling in services like that. And it's not like bad, but it's just less mature than what you're talking about here and what companies really need to see a return on their investment, you know?
Well, also on the digital marketing front, right? We're seeing a sea of those agencies still offering the traditional components and traditional strategies. And I think you're probably seeing that to a certain extent too on your end, where you've already started differentiating yourself by being a bit more progressive and a bit more insightful around what's happening.
Yeah.
And that's a big piece.
And it's pretty exhilarating. I mean, SEO is all about, and these things, it's all about like high impact, low competition is like, that's the sweet sauce. And that's really hard to find. But like almost by definition, like as a rule, if it's high impact, it's going to be high competition.
Sure. Yeah.
And so it's just like finding partners. And a lot of the times, like sometimes the unfair advantage in leadership is like time they've been around, and like you tell, like who's the leader running it? Like what's their perspective? And that's like why people would pick a vendor or a partner to deliver here. And like we do great technical SEO work. And for migrations, like, you know, there's certain parts there, but, you know, this is why we don't specialize specifically around the editorial SEO and those things there on those points, because, you know, people need someone like you at the table, setting them, looking them in the eye and being like, I know your leadership wants to look for this and see this, but instead they need to look at this. And so it feels good. It's just how we help people. You know, it's not about, it's like we're literally helping people excel and feel success, and we're helping businesses succeed and grow and employ more people and serve clients. And so it's so much more than just about marketing and growth. It's like we're literally impacting people's day-to-day experiences and lives by having the ability to like guide them and set expectations so that their reality doesn't, you know, go against what's actually happening.
Hal, it's just, again, it's a testament to your character and how you want to run your business, which is really cool. And obviously what's really connected us too is just that honesty and transparency. Hal, I think I know this already, but to a certain extent, but I'm curious how you find motivation within your business and the core items that excite you. We're in this industry that is changing at a ridiculous rate right now. And obviously with AI and other things, and how people are digesting and their expectations are probably getting more and more aggressive in terms of turnaround times and things like that. But yeah, talk to me about your motivation. What inspires you?
It's very motivating to be having a service offering in like a very in demand and growing space where I don't see anyone else. And the cool thing about the Webflow space is like I'm friends with all my competitors. Like this afternoon, I'm meeting up with one of our direct competitors and we're going to jam out and talk about everything. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like I referred work to like, there's no competition. I've never felt that way in this space. But I will say like, it's taken us years and the right people and the right projects to build expertise around building these component systems, because it starts in Figma, there's strategic parts, there's build parts. And so I'm very motivated just because I now understand what it feels like for these companies to be having this like product market fit and growing, and they get all this money for VCs and they start like, I'm not going to say like we're at that stage exactly, but like I see a place where I'm just like, no, I can't take projects that aren't leaning into this. Like every project I do where I can't build a case study and story of how we're helping marketing teams scale and maintain their sites without us is an opportunity cost of building this narrative and being that leader in the industry. And so, and it's Webflow's built like so much product features around this. And there's just a lack of education and depth in the industry to build and guide clients because it's not easy. And we talked about this before. So I'm just very motivated because somehow things have happened that like we're in a place where there's not a lot of competition here. And honestly, Tyler, you're right. People want stuff faster and quicker, but I kind of have leverage over people because when in these sales conversations, when I say, hey, talk to all the other agencies, are they showing you this, this, and this? Are they asking you this and this question? And when they come back and say no, then I say, okay, we're going to add a little bit of time to the timeline for this. We're going to structure things if things take longer. And I don't know how long I'll have this ability to be so aggressive in qualifying opportunities, but I just know my team needs that to feel successful, and we can't rush good work. And we also can't take too long, but it's just like our whole career, we've just worked really hard, heads down. We're all kind of tired, and we're trying to, now that we've earned our stars and our stripes, as Tony the Tiger would say, it's time to like take that expertise and knowledge and organize it a bit more and kind of do things in a way to serve, but also things on the terms that are going to leave us in a fulfilled place. So where the story's being written, Tyler, but that's how I feel about this whole space that we're in right now.
Hell yeah, man. Great stuff. Quick lightning round while I still have you here. All right, let's say you had to delete all the Webflow features except one. What's the one that you are obsessed with, the go-to feature that you have to have?
Have to have? Well, I'd say for the work that we're doing, it's like having component properties. So like you build a component and then you have like all these knobs and dials and switches. It's that plus the ability that you can write custom code for CSS and JavaScript, and you can control that with the components. Like that's what's powering Webflow's promise has always been like marketers can own the marketing site. It's kind of been like a half truth. Now with that, like it's becoming more of a full truth.
That's great. That's great. Really in-depth question here. Favorite bagel topping of choice?
Ooh,
yeah.
I would say sesame toasted bagel with American cheese and the scrambled eggs. It's like a childhood. That's like very nostalgic for me.
So good. I love it. One plugin, Webflow plugin or integration that you love the most?
Well, I've spent all of my profit and money building this form connector app, which is essentially Gravity Forms so it connects your Webflow forms and it gives you a whole bunch of other robust features, all native, like very native to Webflow, and connects to different CRMs and databases and stuff. So if you got more than a few Webflow forms, it's going to be a headache on Zapier, I'm sorry to say, and better than writing code. But yeah, form connector app is the way to go.
Big stuff there. Awesome. Coffee guy or tea guy?
I don't drink coffee except if I'm very desperate. And I love on occasion having to wake up super early because then I can drink matcha. Yeah. And otherwise it'll keep me up all night. But if I have to wake up at like 4 a.m., then I'll go for it.
Funny, I had to cut out coffee. My team thinks I'm so soft, but I'm just so sensitive to it. Like,
you're just trying to control the moments of your life. That's all. Like what's the problem with that?
Yeah, I don't want to be dependent on something either. Al, it's a true pleasure. Really appreciate your time and just your perspective, and your partnership's really valuable to us, and we're excited for what you got going on Candid Leap and everything you're passionate about. Where can people find and engage with your company and you?
Yeah, you can check out candidleap.com, but otherwise just go to LinkedIn. I post a good bit. We'll do more around design systems, component systems, and then also bagels. If you don't know what that means, you got to check it out. Or come to Chicago in August and we'll feed you well. Just message me. I'll get you fed.
Let's go. I love that. We'll do a plug. We'll do a plug on the post here for the bagel shop. Hal, great to see you. Thanks again. We'll be in touch.
All right. Thanks, Haller. Always good.
Thanks for listening to Built to Convert. If you're serious about growth, don't just listen. Subscribe, leave a review, and follow us for new episodes that drop straight into your feed. Until next time, keep building.